If you're still scrolling through TikTok for motivation, pause, because this might be the last wake-up call you'll ever get before your potential files a missing persons report. Let's talk real quick. People are out here spending $300 on an ugly Labubu doll. Yes, those bug-eyed misfit demon toys that look like anxiety had a baby with bad fashion sense. And you? You still won't spend 20 minutes a day reading a book that could literally rewrite your life? Pathetic. People are chasing fake collectibles for Instagram likes while ignoring the one collectible that actually appreciates over time, your brain. We are a generation addicted to choice and paralyzed by it. You're not broke because the system failed you. You're broke because you spent 3 hours debating oat milk versus almond milk while your rent silently assassinated your bank account. Look around, people are proudly customizing their Starbucks orders like it's a flex, but can't customize their own life. Let me ask you something. If you can't even decide what to watch on Netflix without having a panic attack, what makes you think you're ready for freedom? Barry Schwartz is about to punch you in the throat with a truth bomb. You don't need more options, you need a backbone. Welcome to the tyranny of freedom, and trust me, you volunteered for it. Today's book is The Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less by Barry Schwartz, psychologist, professor, and clearly a man who once spent 4 hours buying jeans and said, "You know what? I'm writing a whole damn book about this." Let's be clear. Barry isn't here to play therapist. He's here to slap the delusion right off your self-help bookshelf. And I'm not here to summarize like a librarian with anxiety. Fair use disclaimer. This video falls under YouTube's Fair Use Act. We're using this material for education, commentary, and transformative insight. No copyright infringement intended. I'm not reciting this book. I'm rebuilding it, brick by brick, with fire and sarcasm. Now, why should you care? Because this book exposes a truth that most people don't have the stomach to admit. Choice isn't freeing you, it's freaking you out. We worship options like they're sacred, but Schwartz breaks the spell. Too many choices are making us miserable, anxious, indecisive, and, brace yourself, clinically depressed. He isn't anti-choice, he's anti-stupidity. And we've got a whole society of people melting down because there are 24 flavors of Pop-Tarts. This book takes aim at the soul-destroying myth that more is better. It's not. More is exhausting. More is overwhelming. More is how you end up with 19 different dating apps and 0 actual dates. So in this video, I'm going to break down every key idea Barry Schwartz delivers. But I'm not doing it gently. I'm doing it like a personal trainer who caught you eating donuts mid-push-up. Each chapter is a grenade lobbed at your decision fatigue. And if you don't finish this video pissed off at yourself in the best possible way, then you're probably still standing in the cereal aisle pretending like fiber content is why you're indecisive. Let's crack this thing wide open. Welcome to Mindful Reads Hub. Let's get started. Too much to choose, too little to enjoy. Walk into a supermarket today and you're not a customer, you're a combatant in a psychological war. Crackers, 85 types, cookies, 285 options, shampoos, 360 bottles, all promising eternal shine, perfect curls, and a soulmate. By the time you hit the dental floss aisle, waxed, unwaxed, extra slippery, minty, cinnamon, charcoal infused, you're not shopping anymore. You're navigating an identity crisis in shrink-wrapped form. And here's the catch, you asked for this. This is the part nobody wants to hear. You demanded more options. You said you wanted freedom, flexibility, individuality, but now you're drowning in it. And instead of feeling powerful, you feel paralyzed, because every option is a decision, and every decision is a moment where you can fail. Barry Schwartz isn't saying choice is bad. No, that would be too simple. He's saying, you're not built to handle this much freedom, and you're paying for it with your mental health. Ever heard of decision fatigue? It's the emotional hangover that hits you after you've compared 20 kinds of almond butter, and now you can't pick a Netflix show to save your life. You think you're lazy. You're not. You're overstimulated, overexposed, and under-anchored. Let me say something that might sting. You're not overwhelmed because the world is complex. You're overwhelmed because you've outsourced your identity to a checklist of brands and buzzwords. And the wild part? None of these decisions even matter. What jeans you pick won't transform your life. What shampoo you use won't fix your self-worth. But you treat every one of these choices like it's a referendum on your personality, because that's what marketing trained you to believe. When Schwartz recounts his soul-crushing jeans shopping experience, where he walks in confident and walks out questioning his life choices, he's not just talking about denim, he's talking about how modern abundance poisoned simplicity. Before there was jeans, now there's slim fit, boot cut, relaxed fit, vintage wash, distressed, acid washed, stretch, comfort stretch, ultra skinny, mid-rise, high-rise, low-rise, zip or button, eco-dyed, pre-loved, Gen Z approved, Instagrammable denim. You didn't gain control, you gained anxiety. And let's be brutally honest, when everything becomes a choice, everything becomes a responsibility. Every bad purchase becomes your fault. Every dissatisfaction is a mirror you can't stop staring into. Every regret whispers, you could have chosen better. And that inner voice, it doesn't shut up. It doesn't stop with shopping. You do this with your career, your relationships, your damn salad dressing. You think, if I just spend a little more time comparing, researching, optimizing, I'll get it right. But right doesn't exist. You're chasing a ghost. And in the process, you're robbing yourself of joy. People keep saying, I just want the best. The best what? The best option? The best life? The best version of yourself? You don't even know what best means. You just know that settling feels like failure. So what do? You stand in the aisle. You open your phone. You Google best brand of toothpaste like your molars hold the meaning of life. And while you're paralyzed in indecision, someone else just picked the damn thing and went home to live. This is what Schwartz calls the paradox of choice. You were told that more options mean more freedom, but more options just mean more pressure, more second guessing, more dissatisfaction. And it's not just theory, it's science. Studies showed that when people were offered 24 jam samples, they stopped, tasted, admired, and walked away. When offered 6 samples, they actually bought. Why? Because the human brain wasn't designed to run a cost-benefit analysis on every micro decision. More choice doesn't make us free, it makes us anxious. It doesn't make us grateful, it makes us entitled. It doesn't make us happy, it makes us haunted by the things we didn't pick. And the worst part? You can't even blame anyone, because you begged for this, you wanted control, and now you've got it, and you hate it. Because now, you don't just pick a product, you construct your identity around it. You don't just shop, you curate. You don't just eat, you build a food-based philosophy with the moral intensity of a religion. You don't just choose, you fear choosing wrong. Here's the truth Schwartz is shoving in your face. You can't have joy when you're terrified of regret, and you'll never enjoy what you pick if you're haunted by what you didn't. So you want more freedom? Cool. Start by walking away from the damn cereal aisle. Pick one, own it, move on. That's not settling, that's sanity. Key takeaway, when choice becomes a performance instead of a decision, you don't win, you burn out. The more trivial choices you inflate with emotional meaning, the more power you surrender to anxiety, regret, and FOMO. Freedom isn't in more options. Freedom is in knowing when to stop choosing. Favorite quote, as the number of choices keeps growing, negative aspects of having a multitude of options begin to appear. At this point, choice no longer liberates, but debilitates. When options explode, certainty implodes. Ever tried picking a phone plan lately? No, seriously, just go ahead, try it. You'll start with a simple goal, I want to save money. And 2 hours later, you're deep in a Reddit thread about data throttling algorithms, reconsidering your entire relationship with technology, capitalism, and yourself. This is what happens when your life turns into a tech support call with your own brain. We used to live in a world where fewer choices meant fewer headaches. You had one utility company, one phone carrier, one grocery store, 1 or 2 healthcare providers. End of story. Was it perfect? No. But at least it didn't feel like you needed a PhD to pick a toothpaste. Now, we have freedom, right? You can choose. But what's the cost? Your clarity, your time, your peace. You didn't become freer. You became a part-time analyst who's always one bad decision away from spiraling. Barry Schwartz isn't just talking about buying socks here, he's dropping a bomb on your entire worldview. The culture told you choice was the path to freedom, and you ate it up like microwave popcorn laced with dopamine. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Choice doesn't make you feel free. It makes you feel like you're always wrong. Here's how it works. First, you're handed a buffet of options. Phone plans, electric providers, retirement funds, insurance, diets, investment apps, even how to die if you want to include advanced directives. All of these are sold to you as empowerment, but they come with an invisible fine print. Now it's your fault if you screw up. You're no longer protected by experts, systems, or standards. You're protected by your ability to Google fast and regret quietly. Now combine that pressure with the psychological reality that your brain can't handle more than a few variables at once. You think you're analyzing rationally, but you're just pretending to be in control while your mind collapses under the weight of a million micro decisions. Schwartz uses example after example to prove this isn't a theory. It's biology versus marketing, and biology is losing. The more options you're handed, the more your brain defaults to avoidance. You delay. You procrastinate, you reopen the same comparison tab 14 times like it owes you something new. You don't act, you fantasize about acting, and when you finally do act, you feel worse because now you wonder about the 99 other things you didn't pick. This isn't decision fatigue, this is identity fatigue. Because we don't just use choices to get things, we use them to be someone. We choose a diet to be healthy, a job to be important, a phone plan to be smart. So when a choice feels wrong, we don't just doubt the decision, we doubt ourselves. Want a better life? Pick the right retirement plan. Want to be a better parent? Choose the best insurance. Want to love yourself? Pick the right meditation app with the correct algorithmic bedtime story. It's all on you now. No one's coming to save you, and guess what? That's not freedom. That's pressure dressed up in a self-help hoodie. Schwartz explains that real freedom doesn't mean choosing everything, it means knowing what not to care about. But most people can't do that, because we've been taught that not choosing is failure. Saying, I don't care which oatmeal I buy, feels like you're being lazy when, in reality, that's the most liberated you've ever been. This system doesn't want you to be decisive. It wants you to linger in options long enough to buy more, doubt more, scroll more, and optimize more. It turns you into a perfectionist who never rests, a search engine with a heartbeat. Let's make this real. Think about how many decisions you've deferred this year. You didn't pick a workout routine, you just kept comparing them. You didn't apply to a new job, you just updated your resume for the 4th time. You didn't commit to a side hustle. You watch 30 YouTube videos about whether or not it's saturated. You call it preparation, but it's not. It's fear. It's decision paralysis in disguise. Schwartz lays out a process most people think they follow. Define your goals, rank your priorities, compare options, pick the winner, learn from it. Sounds great, but let's be honest. You skipped half those steps and then beat yourself up for being unhappy. You don't define your goals. You chase whatever the algorithm serves you. You don't evaluate options. You try to collect all of them and carry them like emotional baggage. You don't learn from consequences. You blame yourself when you feel empty after choosing the thing everyone else hyped. You didn't make a bad choice. You made an inevitable one in a system designed to leave you uncertain. We've built a society where you need a spreadsheet to pick a streaming service, a flowchart to pick a breakfast bar, and a therapist to talk about your cable bill, and you think this is normal? You've been conned into thinking complexity equals intelligence, but intelligence isn't knowing more, it's knowing when to stop. You can either be an exhausted optimizer, or you can be a human who picks and moves the hell on. There's a reason ancient Stoics were happier than you with 1,000th of your choices. They weren't suffocating under the pressure to get it perfect. Stop asking, what's the best option? Start asking, what's good enough for me to live, move, and keep breathing without spiraling? Because if you can't make peace with that, you'll die with a full cart and an empty soul. Key takeaway: options don't automatically improve your life. They dilute your clarity, amplify your anxiety, and hijack your sense of self. More choice doesn't mean more control. It means more accountability without support, more regret without recovery, and more identity crises hidden in your Amazon cart. Real power is knowing when to walk away from the menu and just eat. Favorite quote: "We can now watch whatever we want whenever we want to. We don't have to schedule our TV time. And yet, the experience is no longer shared. Choice without boundaries has become isolation by design." Perfection is a prison we build ourselves. You've been lied to. You've been told that perfection is possible if only you try hard enough. Pick the perfect job. Craft the perfect morning routine. Choose the perfect partner down to the Enneagram type. Optimize everything, maximize everything, and you'll finally feel whole. But you don't feel whole, do you? You feel exhausted. You feel anxious. You feel like every decision is a trap because you don't just want good, you want the best. And that's exactly how you got stuck in the prison of perfection. You built it yourself, brick by brick, decision by decision, trying to win a game that doesn't have a finish line. Barry Schwartz calls this mindset maximizing, but let's call it what it is: a mental parasite that convinces you happiness is just one better choice away, and every time you chase it, you don't get closer to joy. You just raise the stakes for your own misery. You think you're being smart when you dig into every single option, comparing every angle, researching every possible route, but what you're really doing is guaranteeing you'll hate whatever you finally choose, because in your mind, there was always something better you could have picked. You picked the car, but maybe another one was safer. You picked the job, but maybe another one had more prestige. You picked the vacation, but maybe another location would have made better photos. You didn't choose. You set yourself up to fail. And don't lie, you know this already. You've felt it, that hollow feeling even when you get what you wanted. That voice in your head asking, is this really it? That creeping doubt that you missed out, even while you're supposed to be celebrating. That's not indecision, that's perfection poisoning your ability to be content. We're trained to be maximizers. Society rewards it, companies profit from it. Every marketing slogan screams, don't settle, get the best. And now we have a generation of people who can't enjoy their own lives because they are too busy searching for upgrades. Let's talk about the alternative, being a satisficer. The person who picks something good enough and moves on. Not because they're lazy, not because they're dumb, but because they understand that life isn't a math equation, it's a ride, and you ruin it by trying to optimize every damn turn. Maximizers think satisficers are sloppy, weak, unambitious, but here's the kicker. Satisficers are happier, they live longer, they sleep better, they're more fulfilled, because they know the truth most people never admit. Good enough actually is enough. Now let's rewind. Why does this perfectionism wreck us so badly? Because it warps how we understand happiness. You think happiness is the reward for making the right decision. It's not. Happiness is the byproduct of being okay with where you are, not obsessed with where you could have been. Schwartz unpacks the science behind this, and it's brutal. When we demand the best from every decision, we raise our expectations to insane levels, and the higher our expectations, the easier it is to feel disappointed. You didn't just want a fun movie. You wanted the funniest, most emotionally profound, critics-approved, perfectly cast cinematic experience of your entire year. And guess what? You got a decent film and left disappointed because you went in expecting Nirvana. You're not unhappy because your decisions were bad. You're unhappy because your expectations were stupid. And every choice you make is rigged to disappoint you because the real goal wasn't the thing. It was validation. You wanted the perfect dinner so you could feel like a good host. You wanted the best phone so you could feel relevant. You wanted the dream job so you could finally shut that little voice up in your head whispering, you're not enough. But you can't outbuy insecurity. You can't outplan your way into peace. You can't out-optimize your craving for control. At some point, you have to say, this is enough. Not because there's nothing better out there, but because chasing more is killing you. And no, this isn't about laziness or low standards. This is about realism. About knowing that certainty is a myth and perfection is a scam. If you want to feel whole, you don't need more options. You need better boundaries. You don't need more reviews. You don't need another pros and cons list. You don't need 6 more hours of soul-sucking comparison. You need to stop turning every choice into a referendum on your identity. You aren't your brand of sneakers. You aren't your productivity app. You aren't the job you said no to last year. You're a human being. You get to choose and then let go. The pursuit of perfection is the most seductive form of self-sabotage because it looks like ambition, but it's actually avoidance of risk, avoidance of commitment, avoidance of responsibility. Perfection keeps you safe, not happy. So here's your wake-up call. Stop chasing the best. Choose what matters. Stick with it. And deal with the discomfort of being a damn adult who doesn't need to romanticize every outcome. That's how you get your life back. Key takeaway: perfectionism disguised as smart decision-making is emotional self-harm. The quest for the best doesn't elevate your life. It decimates your ability to enjoy what's in front of you. You don't need more options. You need less obsession. Happiness isn't found in getting it perfect. It's found in picking something good and learning how to live with peace. Favorite quote: we would be better off seeking what was good enough instead of seeking the best. Regret is the cost of freedom. You ever say yes to something and immediately feel the weight of 1,000 invisible no's crushing your chest? Welcome to the cost of modern freedom. You think you're free because you have endless options, but let me ruin your comfort real quick. Freedom without limits isn't freedom. It's slow emotional death by hypothetical scenarios. Every decision you make now doesn't just open one door, it slams 50 others shut. And the moment you walk through one, your brain doesn't celebrate. It mourns. Barry Schwartz makes it clear. You're not just choosing, you're grieving every damn time. You don't go on a date, you sabotage it by imagining the other 4 matches you could have picked if you had just swiped differently. You don't enjoy your weekend trip. You spend it scrolling through your feed, wondering if you should have picked somewhere sunnier, trendier, more you. You're haunted, not by ghosts, but by all the lives you didn't choose to live. And that's not poetic, it's pathological. This is regret in its purest form. And here's what makes it worse. The more control you have, the more you blame yourself when things suck. If you only had one college to go to and it sucked, it's just how life is. But if you had 20 offers and you picked the one with moldy dorms and soul-crushing loneliness, that's on you. You feel it and you spiral. We've glorified the idea that control equals power, but nobody told you that control also equals culpability. When every outcome is a reflection of your own choice, disappointment isn't just inconvenient, it's a personal failure. And you can't forgive yourself for not having 2020 future vision. Now take that regret and inject it directly into your identity. That's what most of us are doing. Every bad outcome becomes not just a mistake, but a comment on our value as a human. You don't just regret missing an opportunity. You regret being the kind of person who misses opportunities. The wild part, it doesn't matter how small the decision is. Schwartz pulls this apart with data and anecdotes that would make your therapist weep. Missed the sale on a flight? Regret. Bought the second best stereo? Regret. Took the job that didn't pan out? Existential regret. And it builds. Like emotional compound interest. Regret feeds doubt. Doubt feeds anxiety. Anxiety kills action. And suddenly, you're stuck in the worst psychological loop possible. The longer you wait to decide, the more pain you try to avoid, but the more regret you guarantee. And let's talk about what if. 2 words that have destroyed more inner peace than war, inflation, and TikTok combined. What if I'd taken that other offer? What if I dated that other person? What if I hadn't settled? What if I'm settling now and I don't even realize it? Schwartz breaks this open by showing you just how much damage hypothetical thinking can do. Not because you're imagining better things, but because you're using those imaginary lives to devalue your real one. You're not improving anything. You're just eroding your ability to stay rooted. Every time you think about the path you didn't take, you pull energy away from the one you're walking. And when you do that enough, your real life feels empty, even if it's not. You could be with someone who loves you, in a job that pays you, in a city that inspires you, and still feel incomplete. Not because your life is wrong, but because your brain keeps comparing it to some fantasy version of what could have been. This is how regret becomes self-sabotage. And no, you don't just get over it. You feed it every day like a pet. You coddle it. You let it whisper in your ear. And worse, you confuse it with wisdom. But regret isn't wisdom. It's judgment in hindsight. And you can't learn from it if you're using it to punish yourself. So how do you fix it? You don't remove regret. You make peace with it. You accept that you will always wonder about the life you didn't live, and you realize that doesn't make your current life any less meaningful. In fact, that's what gives it meaning. You chose it. Every yes is 1,000 silent no's, but that's not a tragedy. That's reality. That's maturity. That's the cost of doing anything worth doing, because doing something means not doing everything. You want peace? You don't need more information. You need permission to not look back. Most people are dragging their past choices behind them like corpses. They call it reflecting. It's not. It's emotional hoarding. You're not analyzing. You're reliving. Schwartz reminds you that you are not a mistake machine. You are a person, a flawed, impulsive, wonderfully short-sighted person who will never have perfect information and should stop expecting themselves to act like a god. Your goal isn't to be flawless. Your goal is to choose something, commit to it, and build meaning where you are, not in some alternate life where everything magically made sense. You chose what you chose. Own it. Not because it was perfect, but because you are not the sum of every door you didn't walk through. Key takeaway: regret is the emotional residue of choice. The more options you have, the heavier the residue gets. But it's not the options that hurt you. It's the fantasy you build around the ones you didn't pick. The antidote to regret isn't better decision making. It's radical acceptance of what is. You want peace? Choose. And stop turning every no into a monument. Favorite quote: regret becomes more likely as the number of options increases. And with more options, our expectations about how good the option we choose should be go up. Comparison is the thief of meaning. You've made decisions. You've survived regret. But now comes the most sinister psychological trap of all. One that doesn't whisper, it screams. And not in your ear, in your feed, in your timeline, in your group chats, and in your reflection. Welcome to comparison. The silent killer of satisfaction, the thief of meaning, the reason why no matter how good your life gets, it still feels like it's missing something. Barry Schwartz brings you to this chapter like a friend, yanking your phone out of your hand mid-scroll and saying, look at what this is doing to you. Not just robbing you of time, but robbing you of truth. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You don't live your life. You measure it. You measure your income against someone else's car. You measure your relationship against someone else's engagement post. You measure your apartment against the content creator's Airbnb in Tulum. Even your breakfast looks worse if someone else made theirs with better lighting. You don't even enjoy your eggs anymore without wondering if you're doing life wrong. And it's not your fault, it's how your brain works. Schwartz lays out the mechanics of how every comparison you make literally rewires your expectation. You were content until you saw what someone else had, and now you're not. Not because your situation changed, but because your reference point did. You didn't want more until you saw someone else had it. You weren't insecure until someone else looked better. You weren't ungrateful until someone else was praised for what you were doing quietly. Your dissatisfaction isn't based on truth. It's based on contrast, and contrast is a liar. Even when you win, you lose. Let's say you make a decision. You choose the better job, the hotter partner, the smarter investment, but then you compare that decision to imagined scenarios, and now it feels like a loss. You turned your own win into a letdown. You don't just want to succeed, you want to win against everyone else. Comparison turns everything into a competition you didn't ask to be in. And here's the catch, it's rigged, because what you're comparing isn't even real. It's curated, filtered, cropped, and optimized for envy. You're fighting a battle against fantasy projections with your raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes life. Good luck with that. Schwartz smashes the illusion that comparisons help you grow. That's the excuse we use. I just want to be inspired. No, you don't. You want proof that you're not failing. You want permission to feel okay about where you are, but comparison doesn't give you that. It just moves the goalposts. Every time you close the gap between you and someone else, a new gap opens up. Made more money? Now it's about passive income. Lost some weight? Now it's about muscle definition. Got a degree? Now it's about networking clout. You never feel enough. Not because you're not doing enough, but because you're measuring it all against a standard that doesn't even belong to you. Comparison doesn't stop at ruining your joy, it ruins your decision making. Schwartz dives into how our expectations shift based on other people's outcomes. You pick something good, you are happy, then your friend picks something else. Suddenly, you're doubting yourself. Did you miss something? Should you switch? Are you behind? That's the moment you stop choosing for yourself. You start choosing for validation, and you lose. Every time you stop picking what's good for you, you start chasing what will look best to others, and that's when you die a little inside. Because now your life isn't a path, it's a performance. You're not living to live, you're living to look like you're winning, and you can't ever stop because the audience never leaves. Schwartz doesn't just critique this, he exposes how deeply ingrained it is. You've been doing this since childhood. You got praise for grades, so now you chase achievements. You got compared to siblings, so now your self-worth lives in how you stack up. You don't need a mirror to see yourself. You need a scoreboard. That's what makes it so toxic. It feels natural, but just because a feeling is familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. This obsession with better, faster, hotter, richer, cooler, it's not progress. It's performance anxiety masked as ambition. So what do? You don't stop comparing. You stop letting comparisons drive your decisions. You notice them, name them, and then you get back to your own damn lane. You don't measure joy, you live it. You don't chase perfect, you honor peace. You don't flex for strangers, you show up for yourself. And if that feels like you're falling behind, then congratulations. You're finally starting to run your own race. The problem isn't your life, it's how you're evaluating it. And until you change the scorecard, you will always feel like you're losing, even when you're winning. Key takeaway: comparison doesn't help you choose better. It convinces you that even the right choice feels wrong. It trains your brain to devalue what's real and obsess over what's missing. You want meaning? Stop measuring. Live your life by your standards, not someone else's metrics. Favorite quote: the proliferation of choice in our lives robs us of the chance to decide for ourselves what is good enough. From chaos to clarity, choosing how to choose. You're not overwhelmed because life is hard. You're overwhelmed because you made it complicated. You're juggling 12 open browser tabs in your brain, comparing, regretting, blaming, wishing, and then wondering why you can't focus. You don't have decision paralysis. You have self-sabotage disguised as self-reflection. You think more freedom will fix you. It won't. You think better options will fix you. They won't. You think the next life hack will fix you. It won't. You know what will? Taking responsibility for how you choose, because it's not just what you're choosing, it's how you're choosing. And you suck at it. Barry Schwartz takes the gloves off here. He doesn't just expose the overwhelming amount of choices or how perfectionism poisons your happiness. Now he's pointing a mirror at your face and asking, what if this is your fault? Yeah, your fault. That word you love avoiding. Because when you make a bad decision, you don't say, I made the best decision I could with what I had. You say, I'm such an idiot. You don't reflect. You self-destruct. And that's the trap. The more freedom you have, the more the results of your choices seem like a direct reflection of your value. Which means when things go wrong, your inner critic doesn't shut up. It throws a party, complete with shame cake and guilt balloons. It's not just that you're disappointed. You believe you deserve to be. Because you had so many options. Because you had the power. Because according to the myth, people like you should have known better. That's the myth Schwartz tears down, that perfect choice equals perfect life. It's a fairy tale written by capitalism and romanticized by self-help culture. Choose the right partner and you'll never feel lonely. Choose the right career and you'll never dread Monday. Choose the right productivity system and you'll finally stop procrastinating. Lies, all of it. Perfection was never the goal. Clarity is. But you'll never get there if you keep beating yourself up for not being psychic. You don't make decisions with the benefit of hindsight. You make them in the moment with incomplete data, emotional bias, and stress. That's real life. You can't outsmart chaos, but you can outgrow the mindset that makes it worse. Here's how. Simplify. You think complexity makes you look smart. It doesn't. It makes you paralyzed. The fewer variables you force yourself to juggle, the faster and saner your decisions become. Schwartz calls this satisficing, making a choice that's good enough. Not perfect, not flawless, just sufficient, and if you're honest, that's all you need. You're not buying a legacy, you're buying a toaster. You're not marrying God, you're going on a date. You're not solving climate change, you're choosing a gym. And even if it is a major decision, complexity still kills clarity. Limit your criteria, pick your values, stick to them. Done. Commit. Once you choose, commit. Don't go back. Don't reanalyze. Don't scroll through the what ifs like a masochist trying to find pain they forgot to feel. You made the best choice you could. That's enough. People think commitment is limiting. It's not. It's liberating. Because when you commit, you stop playing defense with your life. You stop hedging. You stop being kinda in, kinda not. You become someone. You live something. Redefine success. You keep thinking success is about the outcome. It's not. It's about the alignment. Did your choice reflect your values? Did it support the life you want to build? Did it give you peace instead of panic? That's success. Outcomes can change. Goals evolve. Regret can be rewritten. But your peace, that's on you. And it doesn't show up by accident. It shows up when you get out of your own way and stop trying to game every decision like it's a cosmic final exam. Schwartz ends with this call to arms. Take your power back. Not by multiplying options, but by multiplying clarity. Cut noise. Kill perfection. Stop blaming. Simplify how you choose. And start living what you chose. You don't need another option. You need conviction. You don't need more time. You need a boundary. You don't need a guarantee. You need to choose and move. You're not here to win life. You're here to live it. Start choosing like it. Key takeaway. Freedom without direction is paralysis. The more you blame yourself for imperfect outcomes, the more you bury your own ability to choose clearly. Choosing isn't about guessing right. It's about aligning with what matters. Simplify how you choose, and you simplify how you live. Favorite quote, the secret to happiness is low expectations. Conclusion, let me say it plain. You're not drowning in failure, you're drowning in options, and now you finally get it. You don't need another list, another app, another productivity cult. You need to choose what matters and burn the rest. Barry Schwartz didn't write this book to coddle you. He wrote it to slap the fantasy out of your mouth. More doesn't mean better. In fact, more often means miserable. And if you're tired of chasing perfect, questioning every move, and blaming yourself for not being a mind reader, this book was your mirror. So here's the deal. Buy the book. Yes, you. Stop freeloading off summaries and go support the work. Read it, reread it, live it. Tattoo it on your frontal lobe if you have to. It's one of the few books that actually has the guts to tell you, you don't need everything, you need enough. And if this video hit you like a truth grenade, subscribe, hit the bell, share it with the person who sends you 47 Yelp links before picking a restaurant. And the next time you can't decide what to do, choose, then move. That's it.